Hey everybody, this is Benjamin Williams with Life Ministries International, and I'm with a good friend of mine, Brian Starley, and I want to thank you for coming and hanging out with me for a little bit. And Brian is a third-year student at Global Awakening's ministry school called Global School of Supernatural Ministry. And the reason I'm interviewing him is, well, I kind of like him. He's a nice guy. And not only that, Brian is really carrying the power of God in such a way that I think it will really help unlock some great things in your lives. And my heart of doing some of these interviews and videos, like I've done with Robbie Dawkins and Shara and some others, is that you would have some mysteries kind of unlocked for you. And I think Brian can really help in that area. Carries a really high gifting in the area of a seer realm and words of knowledge. Fantastic preacher. And I just think that it would be a real benefit for you taking a few minutes to come and hang out with us here and see what's going on. So Brian, thanks for coming and hanging out with me.
Thank you. It's an honor.
And yeah, just answering a few questions and see what's on your heart. So
Sure.
for the benefit of people watching here, would you share a little bit about your journey into the supernatural?
Yeah. One encouraging thing I think for a lot of people with my story is I really didn't search out the majority of this, at least not in the beginning. My parents, when they came to the Lord, my mom began going to a Pentecostal church, Church of God denomination, in my hometown of Milledgeville, Georgia. Go south. So,
yeah, Georgia.
Yeah, all my Southerners out there, extra encouragement for you guys. And so they started going to this church, and I remember my mom would invite me time after time, every Sunday, and repeatedly there was this turning her down. No, I could think of 50 things I'd rather do than go to a church service. At least off the top of my head, think of 100 if I have more time. And one night, I think, looking back, the Lord probably gave her a word of wisdom because she invited me. And after I turned her down for the 1,000th time, the word of wisdom came, and she said, "Well, they're going to have pizza tonight, all you can eat."
Pizza.
And
she knew the way to your heart.
She did, buffalo wings too. And so I was like, well, God's spoken. I'm to go to this service tonight. And so I went along and went there, and there's many more details to skip for the sake of time, but the youth pastor there and a friend I made began inviting me after my attendance picked up a bit due to the good food and friends there and games, and just getting bored with home life.
I'm at home. I could be having free pizza right now.
Could be having all this stuff. So it started going there for all those spiritual reasons, and then I began to be invited time and time again to go to this camp in Cleveland, Georgia, Church of God camp. And again, I could just think of things I'd rather do. A friend I made there named John was telling me, Brian, I don't know why you don't want to go to this camp. I said, why would I want to go? And he said, there's more hot girls there than I've seen anywhere in my life at this camp. And I said, no kidding, at this Christian camp? And he said, yeah, you got to come to this, man. And so I told Mark, I think I'll go to the camp. So
that's so great.
He already had all the paperwork filled out, actually. I think he did by faith. So that's all that was left was for me to sign.
Was that the youth pastor or that was your friend?
Youth pastor.
The youth pastor said there's hot girls.
Oh, no, the friend.
Oh, the friend had, okay.
Girls.
I was like, the youth pastor said that. Okay, your friend said that, but your youth pastor had it filled out.
Youth pastor had it filled out.
Got it, okay.
And so all that was left was for me to sign my name, and I was 15 at the time, so for parents to sign, and so I could go to the camp and get there, going through, and of course meeting lots of girls. That was my intention in going, enjoying all the food there, and having it's like a 15-year-old's dream. And it's like a 5-day camp, Monday through Friday. It's about the Wednesday night there. I'm hanging out. Got one girl sitting to the left, one girl sitting on my right. Had my arm around both of them. And worship's going, and we're sitting kind of in the bleachers. I'm sort of slumped down. And all of a sudden, in the middle of worship, I heard God speak to me in an audible voice. And he said, Brian, what are you doing? And now, the way I liken that is the question he asked Adam in the garden.
Where are you?
Where are you? Yeah, he's asking me, what are you doing? This sense that you're not doing what is in my heart for you to do. You're living beneath your calling. But at the time, it was just scary.
Right.
So I started to really just sort of shake under the weight of that word, and
So you heard this voice. Did it sound loud? Did the others hear it? Was it just you? Did it sound deep or high or?
it was a fairly deep, not too loud voice, it's a normal tone, but 100% audible. And I actually remember kind of, shockingly looking for their reaction to see.
Yeah.
And I realized I must be the only one who's heard this, and now I'm shaking to the point where I think, oh my gosh, I can't let them see me like this. And so I look around. They've got guys posted at all the exits to the buildings to keep the kids corralled in there. The only place that's not blocked is the way to the bathroom. And so I said, that's my ticket out of here. So I stood up, bolted into the bathroom, ran in, went into the stall, actually sat up kind of like
hiding.
this, hiding out and shaking for a little bit. And at one point, probably after a couple minutes sitting in there, I just blurted out, "Leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want anything to do with the Bible or with religion." And it all stopped. I said, "Oh, thank goodness that's over." And so I had another thought. I hope no one else is in here in the bathroom right now, or I'm going to have a lot of explaining to do. And there wasn't, thankfully. So I got up, left there, sat through the rest of the service, and the two girls actually went forward and got saved. And so I was kind of bummed out by that. And went back to the cabin that night.
So you weren't just kind of in a place of, I don't really have a perspective. You're actually against this thing. Okay.
And looking back, this would not be a true statement at all. But what I thought at the time, even right after I got saved, what I used to tell people is I had never met a real Christian, which I know that's not the case. But it was my perception of things from services I had gone to and interactions I had with people. I just always thought, there's everyone's hypocritical, and there's this and this, and was just really in a judging attitude because of a lot of the things going on in my heart, my life, that were not in a good place. And so I was very...
You were against it, not
very
just...
against. I was never an atheist. I 100% knew that God was real. Can look back and even see different encounters, supernatural things that took place. But I just thought, I had this sort of view that he's just kind of on this neutral plane, watching all of us kind of go about life. And absolutely didn't think he cared about me. So I was very just not for this.
Sure. So you came out of the bathroom.
Right. We're back at the cabins later that night. And Mark, the youth pastor, is going around. There's about 5 of us guys in there. And they have a little checklist where they ask, did you get rededicated? Did you come to the Lord for the first time? Speak in tongues? Something like that. And so he's kind of going around having us, do this checklist. And he gets to me and he says, "Well, how about it? Anything happen?" I said, "Nope." I just lied straight to him. Nothing happened. And he kind of turned his head sideways a bit, almost as if he sensed I was not telling the truth. And he said, "Really?" I said, "Yep, nothing happened." He said, "All right, well, lights out, everyone." Now, I was the only one who had not gone to camp with Mark before, so I was the only one who didn't know about his terrible snoring condition that he had. So all the other guys pull out these little earplugs or headphones, put them in, and all go straight to sleep. And I had never been, so I didn't know that. And I'm laying there listening to this loud, demonic snoring, keeping me awake.
And this is night number 3, right?
Night number 3.
Yeah.
And
so you haven't been able to get sleep for a while.
Yeah, and so I'm just thinking, oh, when is this going to be over? And trying to kind of process through and at the same time forget what happened earlier. And in the middle of all that, God speaks to me in an audible voice one more time, and he says, "Whether you want to accept me or not, I will always love you, and you'll always be my son." And from that, when you're a little kid, your mom says, "Don't you cry, don't you cry," and you feel like this, little thing in here that's coming up, and you're like, I sort of felt that, and then it was just the floodgates let out, and I'm crying like if you took a little girl's favorite teddy bear away. I mean, just full on wailing and screaming, and I don't know how the guys didn't wake up, but I thought that a few seconds after it started, I can't let these guys see me crying like this. So it's going to be, the talk of the town for forever. They're never going to let me live this down. And all the lights are out, so like I'm on the top bunk, and I actually fell off because I was trying to get out of there so fast. And so I fall off, and I get back up, and I fumble around and manage to get outside and sat down. And then I started to shake again from not fear, but the anointing. And I actually shook and cried basically the whole night, or the whole remainder of the night, from about, I think, 3 a.m. to 7:30 or 8 or whenever it was we got up, just kind of under the weight of that encounter. And the audible voice had ended at that time, but there were several things internally that the Lord was speaking. And I remember afterwards having this hunger to read the Bible and going and looking through and seeing, oh my gosh, he told me this. This is right here in the book. This is right here. And so it was just this really precious time. And
so when you went outside, did you receive Christ then, or?
I did. I forgot to mention that part. So actually, when I was sitting and crying and having all that go on, I remember just kind of shooting out of my mouth. As far as I know, I didn't consciously plan to say it. It just sort of blurted out of, I guess, from the Spirit. Lord, I give you my life. From this day forward, wherever you tell me to go, I'll go. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. Whatever you say to speak, I will speak. You have my full trust and commitment in my life from this day forward. And so I believe that was at the moment that I received Christ.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's when you, beginning the Christian experience was actually the beginning of engaging in the supernatural. Kind of happens. Some people give their life to Christ, and it is kind of later on enter into another supernatural level or an encounter. But for you, they're kind of intertwined together as God spoke to you and revealed himself to you in that way. And so that's just amazing. It's incredible to see God's mercy, to really see that he saw who you created to be, even though you weren't exactly reaching out to him at the time.
Right.
It's just amazing. And as time went along, you started seeing in the Spirit, and also getting words of knowledge, God showing you things for other people. And when those things started happening, was it pursuing it, or did they just happen to you?
Yeah. Well, I had a pretty dynamic change after that. Became very, very, very hungry for Scripture. Read the Bible through several times. And Mark, for a short time before he ended up departing from the church, was actually mentoring me. And so I was in this period of kind of being poured into by him as a father figure, and that probably lasted about 2 months. And we would just go through the Bible and study together and pray for each other and do outreaches and things like that. And he ended up having to leave, so he leaves the church.